Champions Cup, I did manage to get through one more game. I wasn't sure if I was going to have time, so I didn't do a preview video on it. But Edinburgh up against La Rochelle over there at Murrayfield. It finished 13-8. Maybe I shouldn't have watched it in hindsight. I mean, it wasn't terrible. Had its moments. It started bloody hissing and roar. And then, I don't know, turnovers were a bit of a problem. The ref did his best to try and speed the game up at times, like at scrum time. But yeah, either way, I'll go through some of the key events of the game, and you guys let me know what your thoughts were on this one. Now, by all accounts, Edinburgh's not having the best of times of it in the Pro 14 in this new season. I think they're towards the bottom of their group, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure. You guys who are Edinburgh fans, is it because you've had all your internationals out? I don't know. I mean, it seems like a pretty stacked squad. But, yeah, I don't know. I will take insights there because I certainly don't follow the Pro 14 enough. Likewise, in the top 14, La Rochelle is actually doing pretty well. If you see me staring at that La Rochelle magnet, it's because the magnet which sticks the logo to the board, the glue came off, so I've had to re-glue it, but I'm half expecting it to drop off at any point during this video, so I'm just keeping an eye on it. But yeah, they're doing really well. Ronan O'Gara's coaching them. John O'Gibbs, bit of a dream team. I don't know, New Zealander and an Irishman coaching a French team, as the commentary team mentioned. Well, they seem to be doing the business. And this was very much one of those games where they probably did enough, but could have done a bit more. They didn't play their best, but still managed to get a win. And Edinburgh will look back and think, man, we made some mistakes. But anyway, if there's one area that you'll be pleased with as an Edinburgh fan, it's your scrum. Man, it was getting penalties all day long. Winning penalties, which was a good thing. Both sides were chucking it around. You got Dylan Lades. If you don't know him, back in Super Rugby, he played for the Stormers in a team which was kind of transformed into a bit of a crazy offloading team. And Raymond Rule, I should have checked up his tackle stats actually, because back when he was in Super Rugby, he was a bit of a revolving door on defence, like probably the worst tackler I've ever seen, although he did work on his tackling quite a lot during his time. I feel like he got better, and I saw at least one example of that when I was thinking, man, Raymond Rule's playing for La Rochelle, maybe they should send Duan van der Merwe down his way. And Raymond Rule did actually manage to tackle him once during this game, and he seemed to learn to tackle by going low, just putting guys' ankles together, and they'll fall down. And he did manage to get one of those on the big man in this game, because he used to go high and he would just half-heartedly go high and always get bounced off people. But yeah, anyway, so it was an exciting La Rochelle lineup, and both sides were chucking it about. As I mentioned, the ref was kind of hurrying the players up. I think it was Luke Pearce. He was trying to hurry the players up to get into the scrums, which is something I've kind of harped on about for a while. Like, I know the scrums are a lot safer than they used to be, but the guys still do faff about. They could be doing it quicker, and the refs seem to be keen to get things moving. There seemed to be what's the La Rochelle 10's name? Was it Plisson? He seemed to kick it out on the full at one point, but the officials missed that, so that was a bit of a burn for Edinburgh. And La Rochelle ended up a few minutes later getting the first penalty from about halfway. Same man kicks it from long distance. It's 3-0 to La Rochelle. Raymond Rule, who, like I mentioned, he was a bit of a revolving door on defence, but he still made the squads because with ball in hand, he's an absolute handful of a player to bring down. He's quick and he's just got pretty hot feet. He can step pretty well. He's not like a power man, but he can be. But more of an agility guy, and he was proving a bit of that early. He did go close. He offloaded, but the ball ended up getting knocked on. And it all came from a high ball, which Edinburgh kind of failed to secure, which became a bit of a theme in this game, actually. It's maybe a bit concerning. McAnally put in a try-saver on Tawera Kurbalo. Skelton with the offload down the left wing. So Edinburgh hanging on for dear life, managing to do a pretty good job of it. Actually, I've got those tackle stats here. Let me have a look. Raymond Rule. He was number 11. Made 2, missed 2. That's 50%, which is not great, but that's honestly better than it used to be. Anyway, McAnally with the try saver, like I mentioned. Skelton, who ended up getting man of the match with that offload, almost getting it. About 2 minutes later, the pressure finally gets to Edinburgh. That cracks. Rule gets the try. It had been coming, as the note that I wrote. So much time down the end, and they'd just been exiting for dear life. Rule with the little step out in space at the end. They missed the conversion, and it's 8-0. La Rochelle looking pretty comfortable. They haven't looked like conceding any points, really. Pyrgos puts up and under, and that one goes out on the full, which is just more of a shake my head moment in terms of that first half for Edinburgh. 34 minutes, I wrote, if nothing else, Edinburgh can scrum, and they won another scrum penalty. I think that was like their third one of the game. And then they won another penalty down in La Rochelle's 22. They kicked it, so it's 8 points to 3. 8 points to 3 after the game going the way it had been going. I actually thought was a pretty good return for Edinburgh because they had not looked like much at all. La Rochelle did try for one last penalty from about halfway before half-time. There was nothing doing. I should mention I didn't watch this game live, so I wasn't able to look up the half-time game stats, which is something I would have liked to have done to see where things are at, because I feel like most of the play was down La Rochelle's end. Well, was with them in charge. The full-time stats seem to have evened out a bit, but yeah, I thought it would have been an interesting one to look at the stats to see just how much in charge La Rochelle were of that game. Interestingly, Ihia West comes on in the second half, so Plisson ends up going off. So there's no long-range boot with Ihia West, and he's got a bit of a scattergun, to be honest. He used to play for my Blues team. Not the man you want kicking any real pressure kicks from at least his time down here in the Southern Hemisphere. Maybe he's gotten a bit better up north, but seemingly not based on what we saw here. 42 minutes, La Rochelle get their second try through Sinzel. Excuse the pronunciation. Again, it's a high ball that Edinburgh do not take care of. I think it's Pyrgos. And La Rochelle get the regather. They missed the conversion. As I mentioned, the West kicking not all that accurate. But yeah, it's 13-3. And even though it's only 13-3, man, that seems like game over. Edinburgh do not look like scoring 10 points. 50 minutes, they turn down 3. They go for a maul. They get advantage. And then actually they do finally break through. Just after I'm saying, oh, it looks like game over. Kinghorn gets the try from a little kick through. I forget who made the kick through. It wasn't Van der Vault. But anyway, yeah, nice little move. And it was like one of their first proper attacking chances. Great work, but they missed the conversion. So it's 13 points to 8. That's the end of the scoring. And we're at 51 minutes. That's it. No more scoring for the remaining half an hour. There's a bit of handbags on 56. Ihia West missed a penalty on 67, and I wrote that Edinburgh's still alive. 68. Apparently I wrote Scotland win a penalty. Edinburgh win a penalty. They kick it down the La Rochelle end. They have a chance to maybe sneak in front, but their execution was poor. There was a forward pass as they tried to execute some kind of set move. 73 minutes, they win another scrum penalty. They go for touch again. They win another penalty. I write a note, it's now or never, because even though I'm not watching it live, I don't know the result. They got a 5-metre line out, and eventually they knock it on. They brought up a stat on the screen at that point which said handling errors were 12-6, with Edinburgh having 12. So pretty disappointing. La Rochelle did actually manage to win a scrum penalty right before the game was over. Bennett went off for an HIA. He clashed with Raymond Rule's head. But yeah, there was nothing doing for Edinburgh at the end of this one. A pretty disappointing result, but they still got within a losing bonus point, if nothing else. Although at home, ideally you'd like to be holding. Final match stats, possession 47-53, territory 43-57. Run meters, La Rochelle 366, Edinburgh 221. Clean breaks 5-1 in La Rochelle's favour. So this is what I mean about, I think the numbers, for the most part, would have looked even stronger in La Rochelle's favour in that first half. Offloads 14-2, La Rochelle. Turnovers conceded though, despite the fact that the La Rochelle guys are offloading like mad. They've only conceded the ball 9 times, whereas turnovers conceded for Edinburgh is 15. So yeah, they were a bit disappointing. On a better day, they could have been a closer team than this, maybe even got a win. But didn't seem to be. Defensively, both teams seem to be alright. Edinburgh makes 124 tackles, 87% tackle percentage. La Rochelle 88 tackles, 89% tackle percentage. So, yeah, solid win away from home, man. La Rochelle seem to be the business. Kinghorn gets 67 run meters and a clean break. Old Dreet gets 103 run meters. And admittedly, he was hanging out in backfield quite a lot, so was able to do the whole kick return thing quite a lot. They would catch it and give it to him, and he would bust it back up, or he would catch it himself and run it back up. So, yeah. McAnally made 18 out of 20 tackles, including that one try saver. Levant for La Rochelle made 9 out of 10. Yeah. Interesting that Skelton's able to put so much pressure on box kickers, because he's such a big unit. He can really get in and put pressure on them, so they have to maybe take an angle that they weren't really looking to take. So, yeah. I don't know. It wasn't a terrible game. It was definitely low scoring and defenses were on top. But wasn't the most exciting game I've ever watched. A bit of a battle, you'd have to say. And La Rochelle made less errors. Fewer errors. So they were able to get the job done. But yeah, Edinburgh on another day. Could have got a win over the top team in France. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you see Edinburgh's campaign going? If there's any reasons why you think they're struggling in the Pro 14, is it the lack of the international guys? Can you see these guys taking a step up now that most of the big guns are back? Or is it concerning times? And if you know anything about La Rochelle's campaign, on why they seem to be doing so well, do let me know, because I've seen bugger all of the Pro 14 as well. But anyway, good to see this extra game. And yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on it. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.